Hello viewers and welcome to another chapter of reading. We are joined by my lovely Corinne. She's had the most cameos so far, I think. I haven't really tallied. Have you been keeping count though? Today's chapter is one that, when I was first reading, I felt a connection, if that makes sense. And the reason for that connection is because not only of the title, but the titular character. New Potterheads, I hope you find her just as beloved as us advanced Potterheads do. Because, let's face it, we all need someone like her in our lives. So, with that said, let's get started, shall we? Chapter 10, Luna Lovegood. And in honor, I'm going to try to read this upside down, successfully. So, I hope you don't mind. Harry had a troubled night's sleep. His parents wove in and out of his dreams, never speaking. Mrs. Weasley sobbed over Creature's dead body washed by Ron and Hermione. Who were wearing... Okay, I wanted to make sure. Wearing crowns. And yet again, Harry found himself walking down a corridor ending in a locked door. This is going to be difficult, so if you don't mind me going like this to make sure I have the word right, just keep listening. He woke abruptly with his scar prickling to find Ron already already dressed and talking to him. Better hurry up. Mom's going ballistic. She says we're going to miss the train. This is different, but it's also in the character. It's also very in character. So again, if you don't mind me going like this to make sure I have my words right, you're set. There was a lot of commotion in the house. From what he heard as he dressed at top speed, Harry gathered that Fred and George had bewitched their trunks to fly downstairs to save the bother of carrying them, with the result that they had hurtled straight into Ginny and knocked her down 2 flights of stairs into the hall. I hope she came unscathed. Mrs. Black and Mrs. Weasley were both screaming at the top of their voices. I'm gonna do one at a time at the highest I can go, but not really much of a scream. Enjoy regardless. Oh yeah, I'm having it like this so I can read too. I have done her a serious injury, you idiots! Filthy half-breeds! Besmirching the house of my father! Now we're back to this. Let me see what I need to check. Hermione came up hurrying into the room looking flustered, just as Harry saw. Oh. Oops. Just as Harry was putting on his trainers, or sneakers if you're in America, Hedwig was swaying on her shoulder, and she was carrying a squirming Crookshanks in her arms. Mom and Dad just sent Hedwig back. The owl fluttered obligatingly over and perched on top of her cage. Are you ready yet? Nearly. Ginny, all right? Harry asked, shoving on his glasses. This is not as easy as I try to make it look. I mean, I can read upside down, but reading like this with many different sentences all at once. That's just a bit difficult, but I am trying to make it work for you guys. Where was I now? Oh yeah. Shoving on her. Mrs. Weasley's patched her up, said Hermione. But now, Mad-Eye's complaining that we can't leave unless Sturgis Podmore's here. Otherwise the guard will be one short. Guard, said Harry. We have to go to King's Cross with a guard? I mean, if it's one of the royal guards, I wouldn't say no to such circumstance. But advanced Potterheads and I know what Hermione means by a guard. Newcomers, you're just gonna have to keep listening. You have to go to King's Cross with a guard, Hermione corrected him. Why? Said Harry irritably. I thought Voldemort was supposed to be lying low. Or are you telling me he's going to jump out from behind a dustbin to try and do me in? This is going to be the most interesting chapter read ever. I probably should have practiced before I've done this, but gotta love my Mad-Eye said Hermione distractedly, looking at her watch. Again, I lack a watch right now, but just imagine. But if we don't leave soon, we're definitely going to miss the train. Will you lock it down here now, please? Mrs. Weasley bellowed, and Hermione jumped as though scalded, and hurried out of her room. You know, I think Mrs. Weasley needs to take in National Relaxation Day, which is also today, by the way. Harry seized Hedwig, stuffed her unceremoniously into her cage, and set off downstairs after Hermione. Dragging his trunk. Mrs. Black's portrait was howling with rage, but nobody was bothering to close the curtains over her. All the noise in the hall was bound to rouse her again anyway. I would still wear sound blocking headphones to shield myself from her screams. And I really am trying to read this upside down as best as possible. I know I've mentioned that twice already. Maybe 3 times. I've already lost count. But doing this helps me make sure I have the right word. Because I'm not used to, reading upside down a whole chapter. But don't worry, next week we'll return to the normal, this style. It's just for today I wanted to do something special, so moving forward. Harry, you have to come with Tonks and I, shouted Mrs. Weasley over the repeated screeches of Podpods! Scum! Children! No, oops. Creatures of dirt! Leave your trunk and you're out. Alice is going to deal with the luggage. Oh, for heaven's sake, Sirius! Dumbledore said no! A bear-like black dog had appeared at Harry's side as Harry clambered over the various trunks cluttering the hall to get out to Mrs. Weasley. Oh, honestly, said Mrs. Weasley despairingly. Well, on your own head be it. She wrenched open the front door and stepped out into the weak September sunlight. Well, it's mid-August, but Harry and the dog followed her. The door slammed behind them, and Mrs. Black's screeches were cut off instantly. Miss Thomas, Harry said, looking around as they went down the stone steps of number 12, which vanished the moment they reached the pavement. She's waiting for us just up here, said Mrs. Weasley, stiffening her eyes from the lolloping black dog beside Harry. An old woman greeted them on the corner. She had tightly curled gray hair and wore a purple hat shaped like a pork pie. I don't know what a pork pie is at the moment, but it sounds good. I kind of wonder what it is. I'll search it up later. I'm trying to have fun with this. What's a Harry? She said, winking. I don't know how to wink, so here's my wink. Better hurry up, haven't we, Molly? She added, checking her watch. Again, I like a watch, but just imagine. I know, moaned Mrs. Weasley. Lengthening her stride. But Mad-Eye wanted to wait for Sturgis. If only Arthur could have got us cars from the Ministry again. Nice callback to Chamber of Secrets. Nice callback to Prisoner of Azkaban. I know I said this then, but I'll say it again now. I always imagined the Ministry cars to be a Rolls Royce. It just seems so fitting. but Fudge wouldn't let him borrow so much as an empty ink bottle. These days, how muggles can stand traveling without magic. But the great black dog gave a joyful bark and gamboled around them, snapping at pigeons and chasing its own tail. Harry couldn't help laughing. Sirius had been trapped inside for a very long time. Mrs. Weasley pursed her lips in an almost Aunt Petunia-ish way. It took them 20 minutes to reach King's Cross by foot, and nothing more eventful happened during that time than Sirius scaring a couple of cats. Hey, don't scare my feline family. For Harry's entertainment. Again, don't scare my feline family. Once inside the station, they lingered casually beside the barrier between platform 9 and 10 until the coast was clear. Then each of them leaned against it and turned and fell easily through onto the platform 9 3/4, where the Hogwarts Express stood. Belching sooty steam over a platform packed with departing students and their families. Harry inhaled the familiar smell and felt his spirit soar. He really was going back. I hope the others make it in time, said Mrs. Weasley anxiously. Staring behind her at the wrought iron arch spanning the platform through which new arrivals could come. Nice dog, Harry, called a boy with dreadlocks. Thanks, Leif, said Harry, grinning as Sirius wagged his tail. Frantically. Oh, good, said Mrs. Weasley, sounding relieved. Here's Alistair with the luggage. Look! A porter's cap pulled well over his mismatched eyes. Moody came limping through the archway, pushing a cart full of their trunks. All okay, he muttered to Mrs. Weasley and Tonks. Don't think we were followed. Seconds later, Mr. Weasley emerged onto the platform with Ron and Hermione. They had almost unloaded Moody's luggage cart when Fred, George, and Ginny turned up with Lupin. No trouble? Growled Moody. Nothing, said Lupin. I'll still be reporting Sturgis to Dumbledore, said Moody. That's the second time he's not turned up in a week. Getting as unreliable as Madungus. I really am trying to read this upside down for you guys, so if it takes a little longer for me to read, I'm trying to figure out the word. Well, look after yourselves, said Lupin, shaking hands all around. He reached Harry just last and gave him a clap on the shoulder. You too, Harry. Be careful. Yeah. Keep your head down and your eyes peeled, said Moody, shaking Harry's hand too. And don't forget, all of you, careful when you put out in writing. If in doubt, don't put it in a letter at all. Oh. Wrong voice. But then again, it does seem like something that Moody would say regardless. I'm gonna read it in the correct voice. Again, sorry I used the wrong one. And don't forget, all of you, careful what you put in writing. If in doubt, don't put it in writing at all. It's been great meeting all of you, said Tonks, hugging Hermione and Ginny. It's you assume I expect. A warning whistle sounded. I know that was more of a toot, but bear with me. The students still on the platform started hurrying onto the train. Quick, quick, said Mrs. Weasley, distractedly hugging them at random and catching Harry twice. I mean, I wouldn't say no to Mrs. Weasley hug, so here's hug number 1 and hug number 2. Right, be good. If you've forgotten anything, we'll send it onto this train. Now hurry. For one brief moment, the great black dog reared its head on. This is a lot difficult than I try to make it look, trust me. For one brief moment, the great black dog reared onto its hind legs and placed its front paws on Harry's shoulder. But Mrs. Weasley shoved Harry away toward the train door, hissing, "For heaven's sake! Act more like a dog, Sirius!" I mean, in defense of Sirius, some dogs actually can if they're tall enough, do that with those they love, including their owners. So again, in defense of Sirius, that is a dog behavior. I'm sure many dog owners out there can help me verify this. Moving forward. See you, Harry called out of the open window as the train began to move. With Ron, Hermione, and Ginny waved. Oh yeah. While Ron, Hermione, and Ginny waved beside him. The figures of Tonks, Swoop, and Moody and Mr. and Mrs. Weasley shrank rapidly, but the black dog was bounding alongside the window, wagging its tail. Bored people on the platform were laughing to see it chasing the train. And then they turned the corner, and Sirius was gone. Come with us, said Hermione in a worried voice. Oh, lighten up, said Ron. He hasn't seen daylight for months. Poor bloke. Well, said oh, well, said Fred, clapping his hands together. Yeah, this is a bookmark part. Can't stand around chatting all day. We've got business to discuss with me. See you later. And he and George disappeared down the corridor to the right. The train was gathering still more speed, so the houses outside of the window flashed past and they swayed where they stood. The window. Did I just break that? Oh, yeah. Shall we go and find a compartment then? Harry asked Ron and Hermione. Ron and Hermione exchanged looks. Said Ron. Where? No. Ron and I are supposed to go into the prefect carriage, said Hermione. Awkwardly. Ron wasn't looking at Harry. He seemed to have become intensely interested in the fingernails on his left hand. In case you're wondering, this is what mine looks like. Oh, said Harry. Right, fine. I don't think we'll have to stay there all journey, said Hermione quickly. Our letter said we just need to get instructions from the head boy and girl. Then patrol the corridors from time to time. Fine, said Harry again. Well, I might see you later then. Yeah, definitely, said Ron, causing a shifty, anxious look at Harry. it's a pain having to go down there. It's rather, but we have to. I mean, I'm not enjoying. I'm not Percy. He finished defiantly. No, you're not, said Harry, and he grinned. But Hermione and Ron dragged their trunks, Crookshanks and Caged Pigwidgeon off toward the end of the train. Harry felt an odd sense of loss. Oh, hugging you, Harry. He had never traveled on the Hogwarts Express without Ron. Come on, Ginny told him. If we are to get a move on, we'll be able to save them places. Right, said Harry, picking up Hedwig's cage in one hand and the handle of his trunk in the other. They struggled off down the corridor, peering through the plated, glass paneled doors and to the compartments they passed, which were already full. Harry could not help noticing that a lot of people stared back at him with great interest, and that several of them nudged their neighbors and pointed him out. Oh, poor Harry. Here's another hug. After he had met this behavior in 5 consecutive carriages, he remembered that the Daily Prophet had been telling its readers all summer what a lying show-off he was. He wondered bleakly whether the people now staring and whispering believed the stories. Oh, this is a lot of hugs. In the very last carriage, they met Neville Longbottom, Harry's fellow fifth-year Gryffindor, his round face shining with the effort of pulling his trunk along and maintaining a one-handed grip on his struggling toe, Trevor. As fun as this is, I'm tempted to go back to the typical way but at the same time, it won't be consistent. So I'm gonna persevere and continue to read this chapter upside down for you. I hope you are enjoying it, though. Hi, Harry, he panted. Hi, Ginny. Everywhere's full. I can't find a seat. What are you talking about? Said Ginny, who had squeezed past Neville to peer into the compartment behind him. There's room in this one. There's only Luna Lovegood in here. Neville mumbled something about not wanting to disturb anyone. Don't be silly, said Ginny, laughing. She's all right. She slid the door open and pulled her trunk inside it. Harry and Neville followed. Hi, Luna, said Ginny. Is it okay if we take these seats? The girl beside the window looked up. She had straggly waist-length, dirty blonde hair, very pale eyebrows, and protuberant eyes that gave her a permanently surprised look. Harry knew at once why Neville had chosen to pass this compartment. The girl gave off an aura of distinct naughtiness. I hardly disagree. Perhaps it was the fact that she had stuck her wand behind her left ear for safekeeping. Just imagine my bookmarks, the wand. It didn't last very long. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed it. Or that she had chosen to wear a necklace of butterbeer caps. Or that she was reading a magazine upside down. Which is why I am reading this chapter upside down. Her eyes ranged over Neville and came to rest on Harry. She nodded. Thanks, said Ginny, smiling at her. Harry and Neville stowed the 3 trunks in Hedwig's cage and the luggage rack and sat down. The girl called Luna watched them over her upside-down magazine, which was called The Quidworth. She did not seem to need to blink as much as normal humans. She stared and stared at Harry, who had taken the seat opposite her and now wished he had not. Had a good summer, Luna? Asked Ginny. Yes. And I hope I did Ivana Wynch justice. I love her. I love Luna. So there's as much as I do Ginny, because they are the top two relatable characters for me. So I hope I do both Bonnie Wright and Ivana Wynch justice when I do their voices. I make sure I put my best in both of them, especially. Moving forth. Yes, said Luna without taking her eyes off Harry. Yes, it was quite enjoyable, you know. You're Harry Potter, she added. I know I am, said Harry. Neville chuckled. Luna turned her pale eyes upon him instead. And I don't know who you are. I'm nobody, said Neville Longbottom. No, you're not, said Ginny. Neville Longbottom. Luna Lovegood. Luna's in my ear, but in Ravenclaw. Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure, said Luna in a sing-song voice, which I just opted to sing rather than speak. She raised her upside-down magazine high enough to hide her face. And fell silent. Harry and Neville looked at each other with their eyebrows raised. Ginny suddenly suppressed a giggle. The train rattled onward, speeding the men out into open country. It was all an odd, unusual sort of day. One moment the carriages was full of sunlight, and the next were passing beneath ominously gray clouds. Guess what I got for my birthday? Said Neville. Another Remembrall, said Harry, remembering the marble-like device Neville's grandmother had sent him in an effort to improve his abysmal memory. Oh, Neville, I would help you remember things. No, said Neville. I could do with one, though. I lost the old one ages ago. No, look at this. He had dug the hand that was not keeping a firm grip on Trevor on into his school bag. Excuse me. And after a little bit of rummaging, pulled out what appeared to be a small gray cactus in a pot, except that it was covered with what appeared with what looked like boils rather than spines. Mimulus Mimbletonia, he said proudly. Harry stared at the thing. It was pulsating slightly, giving it the rather sinister look of some diseased eternal organ. It's really, really rare, said Neville, beaming. I don't know if there's one greenhouse at Hogwarts, even. I can't wait to show it to Professor Sprout. My great aunt Algie got it for me in Assyria. I'm going to see if I can read from it. Harry knew that Neville's favorite subject was herbology, but for the life of him he could not see what he would want with this stunted little plant. Does it do anything? He asked. Loads of stuff, said Neville proudly. It's got an amazing defensive mechanism. What Trevor for me? He dumped the toad into Harry's lap and took out a quill from his school bag. One of Lovegood's popping eyes addressed over the top of her upside-down magazine, watching what Neville was doing. Neville held the Mimulus Mimbletonia up to his eyes, his tongue between his teeth. Closed his spot and gave the plant a sharp prod with the tip of his quill. Liquid squirted from every boil on the plant. Thick, stinking, dark green jets of it. Ew. I'm just, no. They hit the ceiling, the windows, and spattered Luna Lovegood's magazine. Ginny, who had flung her arms up in front of her face just in time, merely looked as though she was wearing a slimy green hat. But Harry, whose hands had been busy preventing the eyes of Trevor, received a faceful. It smelled like rancid manure. I can't even imagine. Neville, whose face and torso were also drenched, shook his head to get the worst out of his eyes. Sorry, he gasped. I haven't tried that one before. Didn't realize it would be quite so. Don't worry though, sting sap's not poisonous. He added nervously as Harry spat a mouthful onto the floor. At that precise moment, the door of their compartment slid open. Harry said in a nervous voice. That time, Harry wiped the lenses of his glasses off with his Trevor-free hand. Not sure how well that's gonna work, considering that hand would also be covered with sting sap and likely the slime from Trevor, so sorry. The mucus from Trevor, so but anyway. A very pretty girl with long, shiny black hair was standing in the doorway smiling at him. Cho Chang, the seeker of the Ravenclaw Quidditch team. Oh, hi, said Harry bleakly. Said Joe. Said Joe. Well, just thought I'd say hello. Bye then. She closed the door again, rather pink in the face, and departed. Harry slumped back in his seat and groaned. He would have liked Cho to discover him sitting with a group of very cool people laughing their heads off at a joke he just told. He would not have chosen to be sitting with Neville and Luna Lovegood fussing a toad dripping in stink sap. Oh, Harry. It's water. Gotta stay hydrated on days like this. Never mind, said Ginny bracing. Look, we can get rid of all the this easily. She'll pull out her wand. Scorchify! The stink sap vanished. Sorry, said Neville again, in a small voice. Ron and Hermione did not turn up for nearly an hour, by which time the food trolley had already gone by. Harry, Ginny, and Neville had finished their pumpkin pasties and were busy swapping chocolate frog cards. Swapping chocolate frog cards when the compartment door split open and they walked in, accompanied by Crookshanks and a shrilly hooting pigwidgeon in his cage. I'm starving, said Ron, stowing Pigwidgeon next to Hedwig, grabbing the chocolate frog from Harry and throwing himself into the seat next to him. He riddled open the wrapper, bit off the frog's head, and leaned back with his eyes closed as though he had very long, a very exhausting morning. Talk about in the spirit of National Relaxation Day. Well, there are two fifth-year prefects from each house, said Hermione, looking thoroughly disgruntled as she took her seat. Boy and girl from each. And guess who's a Slytherin prefect? Oh, wrong place. And guess who's a Slytherin prefect? Said Ron, still with his eyes closed. Malfoy, replied Harry at once. His worst fear confirmed. Cops, said Ron, bitterly, stuffing the rest of the frog into his mouth and taking another. And the complete cow, Pansy Parkinson, said Hermione viciously. How's she got on to be a prefect when she's thicker than what? A ancestral? Who's Hufflepuff? Said, Harry asked. Ernie Macmillan and Hannah Abbott, said Ron thickly. I wonder who Ravenclaw is. Oh wait, we find out too. But either way, I guess I'm sharing a new Potterhead moment that I kind of forgot. In my defense, this is my second time rereading. Wait, no. This is my second time reading the books. So I'm about to be a little forgetful at times. But all the same, I have tons of knowledge. So I'm eager to share some of it with you, without giving too much spoilers, obviously. Moving forth. And Anthony Goldstein and Padma Patel from Ravenclaw, said Hermione. You went to the old ball with Padma Patel, said a vague voice. Everyone turned to look at Luna Lovegood, who was gazing unblinkingly at Ron over the top of the quibboard. He swallowed his mouthful of frog. Yeah, I know I did, he said, looking mildly surprised. She didn't enjoy it very much, Luna informed him. She doesn't think you treated her very well because you wouldn't dance with her. I don't think I have minded, she added thoughtfully. Don't like dancing very much. Which is ironic because I can totally see Luna doing that way. Can't you? She retreated behind the quibboard again. Ron stared at the cover with his mouth hanging open for a few seconds, then looked around at Ginny for some kind of explanation. But Ginny had stuffed her knuckles in her mouth to stop herself from giggling. Okay. A five for And if you didn't understand, I said there. I'm trying to do this. Ron shook his head, bemused, then checked his watch. Again, no watch but imagine. And now that I think about it, what's with the characters and checking their watches? I'll do some research on that later. And then get back to you next week. We're supposed to be... We're supposed to patrol on the corridor every so often, he told Harry and Neville. And we can give out punishments if people are misbehaving. I can't wait to get Crab and Goyle for something. Oh, Ron. You're not supposed to oppress your position, Ron, said Hermione sharply. Yeah, right, because Malfoy won't oppress it at all, said Ron, sarcastically. So you're going to descend to his level? No, I'm just going to make sure I get his mites before he gets mine. For heaven's sake, Ron. I'll make Goyle do lines. With a Kill him. He hates writing, said Ron happily. He lowered his voice to Goyle's vote, grunted, screwing up his face in a look of pain, concentration. Mind writing up in midair. I must not look like a baboon's backside. Ah, that's good. That was good. Everyone laughed, including me, if you didn't hear. But nobody laughed harder than Luna Lovegood. She let out a scream of mirth that caused Hedwig to wake up and flap her wings indignantly, and Crookshanks to leap up into the luggage rack, hissing. She laughed so hard that her magazine slipped out of her grasp. She slid down her legs and onto the floor. That was funny! Her prominent eyes swam with tears as she gasped for breath, staring at Ron. Utterly nonplussed, he looked around at the others who were laughing at the expression on Ron's face and the ludicrously prolonged laughter of Luna Lovegood, who was rocking back and backward and forward, clutching her sides. Are you taking the Mickey? Said Ron, frowning at her. Okay, we're going with Google's help for this. In case of you who are wondering, take the Mickey does not mean we are taking Mickey Mouse. This is what taking the Mickey means. Just to give a translation of the Britishness. So, moving forward. Baboon's backside, she choked, holding her ribs. Everyone else was watching Luna laughing. But Harry, glancing at the magazine on the floor, noticed that made him dive for it. Upside down, it had been hard to tell what the pictures on the front ones. But Harry could now realize it was a fairly bad cartoon of Cornelius Fudge. Harry only recognized him because of the lime green bowler hat. Oh, and it just. Yellow and green are colors you should have a nice medium with. Nothing too light, nothing too bright, and in some instances, nothing too dark. To get the right colors of these, you have to have a nice, happy medium that is aesthetically pleasing. And lime green is no. I just can't imagine someone wearing lime green consistently. If I were to wear it, I'd just be like, ugh, what am I wearing? But moving onward. One of Fudge's hands clenched around a bag of gold. The other hand was throttling a goblin. The cartoon was captioned, "How far will Fudge go to gain Gringotts?" Beneath this were listed the titles of other articles inside the magazine. Corruption in the Quidditch League. How the tornadoes are taking control. That team is foreshadowing secrets of the ancient runes revealed. Sirius Black, villain or victim. Can I have a look at this? Harry asked Luna eagerly. She nodded, still gazing at Ron, breathless with laughter. Harry opened the magazine and scanned the index until his moment he had completely forgotten the magazine Kingsley had handed Mr. Weasley to give to Sirius. It must have been this edition of the Quibbler. He found the page and turned it excitedly to the article. This too was instilled by a rather bad cartoon. In fact, Harry would not have known it was supposed to be serious if it hadn't been captioned. Sirius was standing on a pile of human bones with his wand out. The headline on the article read, "Sirius, black as he's painted, notorious mass murderer, or innocent singing sensation." Where do you get singing? had to read this sentence several times before he was conceived that he had not misunderstood it. Sirius, when had Sirius been a singing sensation? I know, that's what I asked a few moments ago. For 14 years, Sirius Black has been believed guilty of the mass murder of 12 innocent muggles and one wizard. Black's audacious escape from Azkaban 2 years ago has led to the widest manhunt ever conducted by the Ministry of Magic. None of us ever questioned that he deserves to be recaptured and handed back to the Dementors. But does he? Startling new evidence has recently come to light that Sirius Black may have not committed the crimes for which he was sent to Azkaban. In fact, says Doris Perkins of 18 and Kathy Wade, Little Norton Black may have not even have been present at the killings. What people don't realize is that Sirius Black is a false name, says Mrs. Parkes. The man people believe the Sirius Black to be is actually Stubby Board Man, lead singer of the popular singing group the Hobgoblins, who, rather from public life, who retired from public life after being stuck in the air by a turnip at a concert in Little Norton Church Hall nearly 15 years ago. I recognized him the moment I saw his picture in the paper. Now, Stubby couldn't have possibly committed crimes because on the day in question he happened to be enjoying a romantic candlelit dinner with me. Kinda makes me wonder if Sirius ever had someone special in his Hogwarts years. JK, we need you to branch out on the murders, yes, please! Please, please. I have written to the Minister of Magic and am expecting him to give Stubby and this series a full pardon any day now. Oh, Advanced Potter has no why I'm having that reaction. Harry finished reading and stared at the page in disbelief. Perhaps it was a joke, he thought. Perhaps the magazine often printed spoof items. He flicked back a few pages and found the piece on Fudge. Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic, denied that he had any plans to take over the running of the Wizarding Bank Gringotts when he was selected Minister of Magic 5 years ago. Fudge has always insisted that he wants nothing more than to cooperate peacefully with the guardians of our gold. But does he? Sources close to the minister have recently disclosed that Fudge's parents' dearest ambition is to seize control of the goblin gold supplies, and that he will not hesitate to use force if need be. It wouldn't be the first time either, said a ministry inside of Cornelius Goblin Crusher Fudge. That's what his friends called him. If you could hear him when he thinks no one's listening, he's always talking about the goblins he's had done and he said he's had them drowned, he's had them dropped off buildings, he's had them poisoned, foreshadowing-ish. He's had them cooked in pies. Harry did not read any further. Fudge might have many faults, but Harry found it extremely hard to imagine him ordering goblins to be cooked in pies. Yeah, me too. He flicked through the rest of the magazine, pausing every few pages. He read an accusation that the show tornadoes, foreshadowing again, were winning the Quidditch League by completion of blackmail. Illegal broom tampering and torture. An interview with a wizard who claimed to have flown on the moon of a on a queen sweep 6 and brought back a bag of moon frogs to prove it. And an article on ancient runes, which at least explained why Luna had been reading the clipboard upside down. According to the magazine, if you turn the runes upside on their heads, they revealed a spell to make your enemy's ears turn into kumquats. In fact, compared to the rest of the articles in the Quibbler, the suggestion that Sirius might really be the lead singer of the Hobgoblins was quite suspectable. Anything good in that? Asked Ron as Harry closed the magazine. Of course not. Of course not, said Hermione scathingly before Harry could answer. The Quibbler's rubbish. Everyone knows that. Excuse me, said Luna. Her voice had suddenly lost its dreamy quality. My father's the editor. Oh, said Hermione, looking embarrassed. Well, it's that's some interesting. I mean, it's quite. I'll have that back, thank you, said Luna coldly, and leaning forward, she snatched it out of Harry's hands. Rifling through it to page 50, and here's page 50 in the book. Oh, whoops. Page 57. Well, in that case, here's page 57 in the book. It's this one here. There. This is page 57. She turned it resolutely upside down again and disappeared behind it, just as the compartment door opened for the third time. Harry looked around. He had expected this, but that did not make the sight of Draco Malfoy smirking at him from between his curious crab and Goyle any more enjoyable. "What?" he said aggressively before Malfoy could open his mouth. Many, Potter. Well, I'll have to give you a detention, drawled Malfoy, whose sleek blonde hair and pointed chin were just like his father's. You see, I, unlike you, have been made a prefect, which means that I, unlike you, have the power to hand out punishments. Yeah, said Harry, but you, unlike me, are a git, so get out and leave us alone. Ron, Hermione, Ginny, and Neville laughed. Malfoy's lips curled. Tell me how. Tell me, how does it feel being second best to Weasley, Potter? He asked. Shut up, Shut up, Malfoy, said Hermione sharply. I seem to have touched a nerve, said Malfoy, smirking. Well, just watch yourself, Potter, because I'll be dropping your footsteps in case you step out of line. Get out, said Hermione, standing up. Snickering, Malfoy gave Harry a last malicious look and departed, Crabbe and Goyle lumbering in his wake. Hermione slammed the compartment door behind them, and turned to look at Harry, who knew at once that she, like him, had registered what Malfoy had said, and had been just as unnerved by it. Chuck us another frog, said Ron, who had clearly noticed nothing. Harry could not talk freely in front of Neville and Luna. He had exchanged another nervous look with Hermione, and then stared out of the window. He had thought Sirius coming with him to the station was a bit of a laugh, but suddenly it seemed reckless if you downright, if not downright dangerous. Hermione had been right. Hermione had been right. Sirius should not have come. What if Mr. Malfoy had noticed the black dog and told Draco? What if he had deduced that the Weasleys, Lupin, Tonks, and Moody knew where Sirius was hiding? Or had Malfoy's use of the word dogging been a coincidence? The weather remained undecided as they traveled farther and farther north. Yeah, you can get that way with where I live too. Sometimes it'll be hot, sometimes it'll be cold, sometimes it'll rain, sometimes it'll snow. It's just a lot of things all in one sometimes. As they travel, rain sputtered the windows in a half-hearted way. Then the sun put in a feeble appearance before clouds drifted over once more. When darkness fell and lamps came in on inside the carriages, Luna rolled up the quiver and carefully away in her bag, then took to staring at everyone in the compartment instead. Harry was sitting with his forehead pressed against the train window, trying to get a first distant glimpse of Hogwarts, but it was a moonless night, and the rain-streaked window was grimy. "We'd better change," said Hermione at last. She and Ron put on their prefect's robes. Prefect, prefect badges carefully on their chests. Harry saw Ron checking how it looked in the black window. At last, the train began to slow down, and they heard the usual racket up and down it as everyone scrambled to get their luggage and pets assembled, ready for departure. Ron and Hermione, supposed to supervise all this, they disappeared from the carriage again, leaving Harry and the others to look after Crookshanks and Pigwidgeon. I'll carry two. I'll carry that out if you'd like. Wrong voice. I'll carry that voice. I'll carry that out if you'd like, said Luna to Harry, reaching out for Pigwidgeon as Neville stowed Trevor carefully in an inside pocket. Oh, thanks, said Harry, handing her the cage and placing Hedwig's more securely into his arms. They shuffled out of the compartment, feeling the first sting of the night air on their faces as they joined the crowd in the corridor. Slowly they moved toward the doors. Harry could smell the pine trees that lined the path down to the lake. He stepped down onto the platform and looked around, listening for the familiar call of Bastia. Bastia's over here. Bastia's. But it did not come. Instead, a quite different voice, a brisk female, one was calling, Bastia's. Up and over here, please. All first years on to me. A lantern came swinging toward Harriet, and by its light saw the prominent chin and severe haircut of Professor Rubbly Plank. The witch who had taken over Hagrid's care of magical creatures lessened for a while the previous year. Where's Hagrid? He said out loud. I don't know, said Jenny, but we'd better get out of the way. We're blocking the door. Oh yeah. Harry and Ginny became separated as they moved off along the platform and out through the station. Jostled by the crowd, Harry squinted through the darkness for a glimpse of Hagrid. He had to be here. Harry had been relying on it. Seeing Hagrid again had been out of the thing had been one of the things to which he had been looking forward to most. But there was no sign of him at all. He can't have left, Harry told himself as he shuffled slowly through a narrow doorway onto the road outside with the rest of the crowd. It's just got to be. Just got a cold or something. He looked around for Ron or Hermione, wanting to know what they thought about the reappearance of Professor Rubbly Plank, but neither of them was anywhere near him, so he allowed himself to be shunted forward onto the dark rain-washed road outside Hogsmeade Station. Here stood the 100 or so horseless stagecoaches that always took the students above first year up to the castle. Harry glanced quickly at them. Turned away to keep a lookout for Ron and Hermione, then did a double take. The coaches were no longer horseless. These creatures standing between the carriage shafts if they if he had to give them a name. He suppose he would have called them horses. Though there was something reptilian about them too. They were completely fleshless, their black coats clinging onto their skeletons, of which every bone was visible. Their heads were dragonish, and their pupilless eyes white and staring. Wings sprouted from each wither, vast black leathery wings that looked as though they ought to belong giant to giant bats. Standing still and quiet in the gloom, the creatures looked eerie and sinister. Harry could not understand why the coaches were being fooled by these horrible horses when they were quite capable of moving along by themselves. "Where's Pig?" said Ron's voice right behind Harry. "That Luna girl was carrying him," said Harry, turning quickly, eager to consult Ron about Hagrid. "What do you reckon Hagrid is?" said. "I don't know," said Ron, sounding worried. "He'd better be okay." A short distance away, Draco Malfoy, followed by a small gang of cronies, including Crab, Goyle, and Pansy Parkinson, was pushing some timid-looking second year out of the way so that they could get a coach to themselves. Seconds later, Hermione emerged, panting from the crowd. "Malfoy was being absolutely foul to first year back then." "That was the second year." "I swear I'm going to report him. They had his badge 3 minutes and he's using it to bully people worse than ever." "Where's Crookshanks?" "Ginny's got him," said Harry. "There she is." Ginny had just emerged from the crowd, clutching a squirming Crookshanks. "Thanks," said Hermione, relieving Ginny of the cat. "Come on, let's get a carriage together before they're all filled up. I haven't yet, said Ron, but Hermione was already heading off toward the nearest unoccupied coach. Harry remained behind with Ron. What are those things, do you reckon? He asked Ron, nodding at the horrible horses that the other students surged past him. What things? Those horse. Luna appeared holding Pigwidgeon's cage in her arms. The tiny owl was twittering excitedly as usual. Very well, she said. He's a sweet little owl, isn't he? Yeah, he's alright, said Ron gruffly. Well, come on. Let's get in. What are you waiting for? What are you saying, Harry? What were you saying, Harry? I was saying, what are those things? Harry said as he, Ron, and Luna made for the carriage which Hermione and Ginny were already sitting. What horse things? The horse things pulling the carriages, said Harry impatiently. They were, after all, about 3 feet from the nearest one. It was watching them with empty white eyes. Ron, however, gave Harry a perplexed look. What are you talking about? I'm talking about help. Harry grabbed Ron's arm and wheeled him about so that he was face to face with the winged horse. Ron stared straight at it for a second, then looked back at Harry. What am I supposed to be looking at? There, between the shafts. Harnessed to the coach. It's right in front. But Ron continued to look bemused. A strange thought occurred to Harry. Can't you see them? See what? Can't you see what's pulling the carriages? Ron looked seriously alarmed now. You're feeling all right, Harry? Yeah. Harry felt utterly bewildered. The horse was there in front of him, gleaming solidly in the dim light issuing from the station windows. Behind them, vapor rising from its nostrils in the chilly air. Yet, unless Ron was faking, and was it it was a very feeble joke if it was, Ron could not see it at all. "Shall we get in, then?" said Ron, uncertainly looking at Harry as though worried about him. "Yeah," said Harry. "Yeah, come on." "It's all right," said "It's all right," said a dreamy voice from beside Harry as Ron vanished coach into the coach's dark interior. "You're not going mad or anything. I can see them too." "Can you?" said Harry desperately, turning to Luna. He could see the battling horses reflected in her wide silvery eyes. "Oh, yes," said Luna. "I've been able to see them ever since my first day here. They're always they've always pulled the carriages. Don't worry, they're just as sane as I am." Smiling faintly, she climbed into the musty interior of the carriage after Ron. Not altogether reassured, Harry followed her. And that is the end of this upside down chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me next week for chapter 11. And until then, bye!